The man wanted to survive peacefully inside the manga world, so he deliberately trained himself into a muscular beast. He thought that with a body like this, no one would dare mess with him. But he never expected the original heroines of the manga to start showing interest in him one after another. Even the original romance storyline went completely off the rails because of his existence. He slowly opened his eyes in a daze. All he saw around him were blurry faces. He remembered being caught in a fire before losing consciousness. Yet, when he woke up, he was already lying in a hospital. Suddenly, his eyes shot wide open because the face reflected in the vase wasn't his own. In the end, he reached one conclusion. He might have possessed someone else's body. The original owner of this body was named Kim Yu-song, an ordinary guy from an ordinary family. But last weekend, he seemed to have been involved in a car accident. The original owner was probably already dead, and the man's soul had taken over this body. Still, for him, this wasn't exactly a bad thing because he had finally escaped that laboratory. Now, all he had to do was figure out how to survive here. Soon, he arrived at the room of the original owner, Kim Yu-song. The moment he opened the door, he froze on the spot. The bookshelf was actually packed with manga. There were also plenty of figurines beside it. Apparently, this guy was a full-on otaku. He wasn't even sure if he could live normally under this identity. If he suddenly acted like a completely different person, his parents would definitely notice something was wrong. Then, he saw the custom poster Kim Yu-song had made for himself. At that point, he realized this guy was completely hopeless. A total edgy chunibyo case. But most of the manga on his shelf were battle manga and romantic comedies. So, if he followed that logic and copied his lifestyle, there shouldn't be too many problems. And before coming to this world, he had read part of that series too. It was a record-breaking shounen manga with over 10 million copies sold. The ending had the childhood friends finally becoming a couple. But many readers couldn't accept that ending and called it a complete disaster. By the next day, he had read a good number of manga from the shelf and ended up staying up all night. Then, his mother called him over to help take orders. After changing into his work uniform, he noticed a group of people walking into the shop. And the two people in front of him looked strangely familiar. The girl called the boy Ruji-senpai. That name sounded even more familiar to him. Because Ruji was the male lead of the manga he had read, he really didn't expect that he had actually ended up inside this manga. Now, he could finally summarize what a real transmigration story was. He had died in a fire and his soul had possessed someone named Kim Yu-song. And this Kim Yu-song seemed to be nothing more than a background character in the manga Chaotic Love. Simply put, he had possessed a character inside the story. The problem was, he didn't remember the full plot because he had skipped around while reading it. Thinking about it carefully, this place wasn't that different from reality to him. And since it was a romantic comedy, the world wasn't going to end. So as long as he avoided getting involved with the main character, he could live a normal life as a background character. From then on, his life became busy. First, he had to finish reading all these manga, then learn how to imitate Kim Yu-song. He deliberately applied to a private high school far away from the original school district, entered as the top student, and received a full scholarship. After enrollment, he used puberty as an excuse and slowly rebuilt his entire personality. Even so, the possession couldn't be reversed. Facing an unpredictable future, he felt he had to prepare for something. So he wrote down plan after plan on paper. But none of them felt quite right. In the end, he chose fitness training. Strength was a crucial part of survival. Stamina was power. And even if this was a romantic comedy, having it was still better than having nothing. But after working out for a while, he realized that training was actually surprisingly fun. From then on, he became completely hooked on exercise. And time quietly slipped by. Just like that, Kim Yu-song spent an entire year of high school without any major incidents. On this day, the new semester began, and everyone started checking their class assignments. Then a boy gave a slight smirk. Seeing his friend walk over, he said, "Aren't you a little too late?" Kim Yu-sang, "Which class did you get?" Kim Yu-song said he didn't know either. By now, his appearance had changed drastically. He was now a second-year high school student. That year had gone by in the blink of an eye. Over the past few months, he had gone through an insane muscle-building phase, which was why he looked so different now. And the reason for all of this was simple: self-defense. After all, in a manga world, aliens, ghosts, and gangsters suddenly showing up was basically normal. So everything he was doing now was preparation for the future. It definitely wasn't just because he had become obsessed with muscles. So far, he had gained quite a lot over the past year. He was assigned to Class 2B. At that moment, a girl entered the classroom and greeted everyone. Her name was Yubuchimi, the heroine of the original manga. And sitting beside Kim Yu-sang was Sakamoto Ruji, the original male lead. To him, this was basically a disaster scene. Of all people, these two had ended up as his classmates. He had chosen a school far away from the original district, just to avoid them. If he got dragged into their mess, his peaceful school life would be over. Then he heard Sakamoto Ruji say that his day had been terrible. First, he lost his wallet, and then he bumped into some strange girl on the street. Those words instantly shocked Kim Yu-sang. Did that mean she was about to appear too? The moment that thought crossed his mind, someone opened the classroom door. The teacher told everyone to quiet down and return to their seats. Then he announced that he had something very important to say today. But Sakamoto Ruji didn't seem to care at all. He was still worrying about his missing wallet. The teacher said that a transfer student would be joining their class today. Then a blonde girl walked into the classroom. With her cute little thong showing, she greeted everyone cheerfully. Everyone thought she was stunning, and some even wondered if she was a foreigner. The teacher asked the girl to introduce herself. She said her name was Kishimoto Rika, and that she had just moved here from somewhere else. Kim Yu-sang had actually expected this already. Since he was already in the same class as the male lead, that meant the heroine was bound to show up. Kishimoto Rika. Even though Kim Yu-sang had mostly forgotten the original plot, he still remembered that her popularity had always stayed firmly in first place. Even if she wasn't the final winner, her popularity never left the top spot. Then, the teacher told Kishimoto Rika to sit in the back row. Conveniently, he also asked Sakamoto Ruji to help look after her. At that moment, Ruji suddenly realized that this girl was the same person he had bumped into that morning. Kishimoto Rika recognized Ruji as well. She stared coldly at him and said, "I still haven't settled this morning's score with you." The teacher calmly interrupted them. "Since you two already know each other, that makes things even better." Kishimoto Rika sat down there with obvious reluctance. After taking her seat, she even shot Ruji a fierce glare. At first, Kishimoto Rika didn't want to deal with Ruji at all. But she had picked up Ruji's wallet that morning, so she returned it to him anyway. Kim Yu-sang sat beside them, completely frozen, desperately wanting to escape, but unfortunately, he still had 2 more years to suffer through here. In the blink of an eye, class was over. His friend came over to borrow a manga from him. Even after entering high school, Kim Yu-sang still hadn't quit manga, and that was also for the sake of his future. According to the laws of a manga world, even if he didn't remember the full story, most manga followed similar patterns. That was why he had to keep reading the latest magazines and stay updated on the plot trends of every romantic comedy. At that moment, Ruji suddenly grabbed Kishimoto Rika's hand. "There's something I want to talk to you about in private. Can you come with me for a second?" What he wanted to talk about was the accident from that morning. Kishimoto Rika agreed. "Fine. I guess I can talk to you alone." The classmates beside them were still confused. Did something actually happen between those two? Kim Yu-sang said he needed to use the bathroom, but in reality, he wanted to eavesdrop on their conversation. But the moment he pulled the door open, his massive body and the aura around him instantly intimidated everyone. The entire class shuddered. Was this guy really a high school student? Why does he feel so terrifying? He almost looked like the heir to some gangster family. It seemed Kim Yu-sang was about to be isolated. Was it really just because he looked a little too muscular? But for now, he had to check what was going on between those two main characters first. To improve the accuracy of his judgment, he needed to witness the event himself and collect evidence. In this school, the only place suitable for private conversation should be that spot. He had to know what they talked about. He absolutely couldn't let the story develop beyond his expectations. And the place where the two of them talked was the school backyard. Kim Yu-sang quietly hid in the bushes and watched their every move. The reason Sakamoto Ruji wanted to talk to Kishimoto Rika alone was simply to apologize. Kim Yu-sang truly couldn't believe Ruji would strike such an embarrassing pose. But somehow, that pose actually made Rika laugh. Rika burst out laughing. "You really are ridiculously innocent. Since you went this far, I'll forgive you. Besides, what happened this morning was just an accident." Rika was cheerful, ranked number 1 in popularity, and this was her first encounter event with the male lead. Honestly, it was the textbook opening of a classic romantic comedy. But while Kim Yu-sang was spying on them, another girl discovered him. Kim Yu-sang, what are you doing crouching there so suspiciously? Don't tell me you were trying to do something shameful. The girl speaking was Seonji Kamiko. She came from a prestigious Kyoto family, served as the student council president, and was basically the villainous rich girl archetype. In reality, characters like her were usually destined to become side characters or comedic rivals. But a secondary heroine was still a heroine, and she was destined to get tangled up with the main character. Kim Yu-sang quickly explained, I just thought this branch would look nice in the student council office. Kamiko looked completely confused. You want me to put something like that in the student council office? But since it was personally chosen by my secretary, I suppose I can reluctantly place it there. Kim Yu-sang had made up a random excuse on the spot, but somehow she actually believed him. But then again, why was she here in the first place? It turned out Kamiko wanted to have lunch with the student council officers to strengthen their teamwork, and she had decided to specially grant Kim Yu-sang the chance to join them. Then she told him to hurry to the cafeteria, or there would be no seats left. But Kim Yu-sang told her not to eat at the cafeteria, because there probably wasn't anything suitable for her there. Kamiko laughed. It seems you really don't understand me. Do you truly think I know nothing about commoners' food and culture? Kamiko vaguely remembered the spicy pork rice bowl she had eaten at Kim Yu-sang's family restaurant last time. It had tasted quite good, and she could handle commoner food of that level just fine. Kim Yu-sang felt like she was subtly insulting his family restaurant, but for a president who usually ate steak in the student council room, this was honestly already impressive. Still, he reminded her that the cafeteria didn't serve spicy pork rice bowls. The cafeteria only had jayadin, which was a somewhat similar dish. That made the president feel something was off, because no matter how she heard it, the name sounded like junk food. Now, even the president didn't know what to do. Was she really supposed to eat junk food? Just then, someone else appeared. The person was also a student council member and one of Kamiko's loyal subordinates. The moment he arrived, he pointed at Kim Yu-sang and scolded him. You brat, you have absolutely no sense of responsibility toward the student council, because you never showed up at the student council office. Our poor young lady kept searching for you and couldn't even eat lunch. Kim Yu-sang was completely lost. Why did this guy's sentence sound so strange? And what exactly was pitiful about the young lady? The next moment, the president stepped directly in front of Kim Yu-sang. Stop talking. But the man clearly had no intention of letting it go. I can no longer tolerate your rude behavior, you brat. The boy with glasses was about to keep going, but the president dragged him away. Before leaving, he still told Kim Yu-sang that he had better apologize to the president. Kim Yu-sang had absolutely no idea what was going on. As the major characters began appearing one after another, he realized this meant chaotic love had officially begun. Because he had desperately built up muscle, his body had become especially intimidating, and now even the main character was avoiding him. It seemed that whether in country H or country R, a powerful build was still the ultimate advantage. Since the main characters had already met, the story would naturally move forward on its own, and all he had to do was live an ordinary life like a background character. Just then, a hand suddenly tugged at the hem of his clothes. Kim Yu-sang turned around and was instantly startled, because it was Kishimoto Rika, the transfer student who had just arrived today. But he had no idea why Rika was here. It turned out she had come to ask for directions. Kim Yu-sang was curious about how she knew his name. Rika told him it was because his name was attached to his bag. I didn't expect you to be so clueless, Kim. It's kind of cute. Kim Yu-sang hadn't expected this situation at all. At that moment, Rika suddenly gave him a sly smile. I knew I was right about you. I knew you were actually a pretty good person. Did she seriously think Kim Yu-sang was a good person? The other students nearly froze in fear just by looking at him. But what exactly was she trying to do? Or rather, why had she remembered him from the very beginning? It turned out that the strange aura Kim Yu-sang gave off during class made it impossible for her not to notice him. She had also heard plenty of rumors about him, but when she saw how seriously he listened in class, she became curious instead. On top of that, Rika thought he felt surprisingly approachable. Apparently, a good person was still a good person in the end. Kim Yu-sang, however, felt that this was bad. He had already gotten tangled up with one of the heroines. Seeing how kindly she treated even someone like him despite all the rumors, he started to understand why she ranked first in popularity. Maybe she was just naturally kind to everyone, but now he was seriously considering whether he should scare her off with his muscles. His dazed expression made Rika a little unhappy. You're clearly a good person, so why are you ignoring me? The others in class might misunderstand you, but I believe they'll eventually see the real you. They'll understand that those scary stories are just rumors. You may look a little frightening, but you're actually very kind. Until everyone clears up their misunderstanding of you, I'll keep being your friend. It seemed muscles alone weren't enough to scare her away. With Rika's personality, it probably wouldn't matter whether Kim Yu-sang looked like an ordinary student or a gangster. Since meeting in the same class was now unavoidable, he could only let things happen naturally. Still, Kim Yu-sang stuck to his background character act. I'm looking forward to it too, Rika. Then he glanced at the address in her hand. For some reason, that address looked strangely familiar. It seemed to be a wealthy district, full of mansions. Was Rika actually from a rich family too? Kim Yu-sang said, that place isn't far from my house. You can take the same train as me. Rika immediately caught the other implication in his words. Does that mean we live close to each other? Looks like it must be fate. Seeing her expression, Kim Yu-sang instantly realized he had said too much. He should have kept his mouth shut. Suddenly, he remembered something important. He had prepared a perfect survival strategy, but there was one fatal flaw. He had basically forgotten almost the entire original story. Instead of blindly guessing like a background character based only on romantic comedy tropes, it would be better to get information directly from Rika herself. If necessary, he could even threaten the male lead with force and make Ruji ask Rika out. A small change like that shouldn't affect the original plot too much. Before long, the train arrived. As soon as Kim Yu-sang entered the train, everyone around him avoided looking at him. To them, he looked far too terrifying. Rika, however, discovered one benefit of sitting with him. There would always be a seat. In the end, Kim Yu-sang finally brought her to Chito's Funabashi station. Just as he was about to leave, Rika suddenly called out to him, Kim, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Before she could even finish speaking, the train doors closed. Yet for some reason, Kim Yu-sang felt an inexplicable sense of unease. Was it because he had already gotten involved with a heroine? The next day at noon, Kim Yu-sang was about to eat his lunchbox. But then he noticed Rika looking at him with puppy dog eyes. Don't tell me you eat here alone every day. Kim Yu-sang said there was nothing he could do since the other students were all afraid of him. Rika replied, but you should be eating in the cafeteria. Kim Yu-sang answered, don't worry about me. You said it yourself, someday they'll see the real me, so I'll just wait patiently. Suddenly, Rika noticed the lunch in Kim Yu-sang's hand. It seemed to have Japanese rice rolls, and on top of that, Korean gimbap. It was her first time seeing the real thing. So Rika immediately asked if she could have a bite. Seeing the way she looked like she was about to cry, Kim Yu-sang couldn't bring himself to refuse. Rika carefully took a small bite. But the next second, the taste completely won her over, and she said in surprise, you said your family runs a Korean barbecue restaurant. No wonder this tastes so authentic. After that, she even told Kim Yu-sang to tell his mother that she really liked her cooking. As a return gift, Rika asked Kim Yu-sang to try her tamagoyaki. Kim Yu-sang agreed and prepared to taste a piece. But the moment he put the tamagoyaki into his mouth, the flavor truly shocked him. Some say life is half sugar, but even so, this was way too sweet. So he asked Rika how much sugar she had put in it, and Rika said she didn't know either. For the sake of Rika's safety, Kim Yu-sang felt it was necessary to teach her how to make a zero-sugar Korean rolled omelet. Just then, the two of them suddenly heard a whistle. They looked up and saw the president and her officers standing there. At that moment, the president was trembling with anger. Improper relationships between boys and girls on campus might be forgiven by heaven, but they wouldn't be forgiven by the student council. As the student council president, she absolutely wouldn't tolerate this. Kim Yu-sang was completely confused. When did we start dating? The boy with glasses stepped forward. A boy and a girl eating alone together. Are you really saying that's a proper relationship? You were caught in the act, and now you're still making excuses. Do you have no sense of responsibility? But this had nothing to do with responsibility. They were only eating lunch together. Besides, hadn't Kim Yu-sang been having strange encounters with the president pretty often lately too? At that moment, Rika turned her gaze toward the president. The president felt a little uncomfortable under her stare. Who are you? Do you have something to say to me? Rika suddenly remembered. Oh, you're the president of that dark student council, right? The president froze on the spot. Since when had she become a villain? Rika said there were plenty of rumors about the president, such as how she liked wearing a black uniform and always carried a small fan. The president thought Rika was being extremely rude and sternly explained that, strictly speaking, the outfit was meant to display the dignity of the student council. But Rika told her there was no need to explain. Everyone is just teasing you, saying it looks like cosplay. As long as you're confident, it's fine. The president's mood instantly sank. Were the other students really laughing at her for cosplaying? Today, the president had suffered a complete defeat. She told Rika to wait because she would definitely return. She would absolutely avenge this humiliation, and she had already carved it into her heart. Kim Yu-sang still had no idea what she was trying to do, nor did he understand why she had suddenly appeared here. Before long, school was over. Rika looked at Kim Yu-sang and asked, "Why aren't you going home yet? What are you thinking about?" Then she noticed the club pamphlet on his desk, and realized he hadn't joined any club yet. So Rika suggested taking him around to try out different clubs. Kim Yu-sang thought she had a point. At the very least, he should check out what the clubs were like first. So he slowly stood up and prepared to look around the clubs with Rika. But he made one thing clear first. He planned to visit every sports club. Rika looked completely confused. The reason was actually simple. Kim Yu-sang was curious to see just how far his strength could take him. Meanwhile, on the soccer field, a blonde guy was angrily complaining about how he couldn't score a single goal. Even though they hadn't scored once, they were still acting incredibly arrogant. Just then, a massive shadow suddenly loomed over them. "Would you mind moving?" The person who spoke was Ryo Hai, the third-year captain of the soccer team. Seeing that someone tough had shown up, the two blonde guys immediately apologized and said they would leave right away. A nearby soccer player quickly thanked him. "Thanks, Captain. Those guys were seriously annoying us. The second you showed up, they ran off." But Ryo Hai could only sigh, because none of the new students this year seemed especially outstanding. He really wanted to win the national championship this year. If only they could recruit one powerful player. Meanwhile, the blonde guy who had been scared off was still furious. "Should I go back and beat him up right now?" His friend immediately refused. "I'm not getting involved. I heard his kicking speed is famous nationwide. What makes you think you can compete with him?" The blonde guy snapped that fighting wasn't all about brute strength. Then, as he tried to find a way to save face, he suddenly bumped into someone behind him. "Which brat just bumped into me? Watch where you're going." Hearing that, Kim Yu-song immediately stopped and turned around. The moment the two blonde guys saw who had spoken, cold sweat poured down their faces. Without the slightest hesitation, they turned and ran off into the distance. Rika helplessly reminded Kim Yu-song, "Don't speak so loudly, you need to get along with everyone." After that, Kim Yu-song and Rika arrived at the soccer field. The players were curious about why he had come here. Was he here to take revenge for those two guys from earlier? After all, the whole school knew how terrifying Kim Yu-song was. But the captain patted one of the players on the shoulder. "Relax, he's not the kind of person who would waste time getting revenge for punks like them. With a body like that, he's already on the level of a national class athlete." Then, the captain walked up to Kim Yu-song. "Kim Yu-song, I've heard a lot about you. I'm Ro Hei, the captain of the soccer club. What brings you here?" Kim Yu-song said he had come for a tryout. That overwhelming pressure startled Ryo Hei. Even though Kim Yu-song was only 10 centimeters taller, Ryo Hei felt like a dwarf beside him. And those muscles, his physique looked like it could crush everything in its path. If Kim Yu-song joined the soccer club, the national championship might no longer be just a dream. Ryo Hei immediately brought Kim Yu-song in front of the goal and told him to kick the ball in with all his strength. Full strength? If that was the case, then he would give it everything he had. The next second, Kim Yu-song gathered his power and raised his leg high. In everyone else's eyes, the aura around him was terrifying. He kicked the ball toward the goal with all his strength, and as it tore through the air, it released a thunderous roar. The members of the soccer team stared at the scene in horror. The soccer ball in front of Kim Yu-song had been completely destroyed. That wasn't the kind of force a normal human could produce. Then, he turned to Rika behind him and asked, "Where are we going next?" Rika said excitedly, "Next is the basketball club. Crushing them one by one is actually pretty fun." Soon, the news that Kim Yu-song was going around crushing every club spread throughout the school. That news also reached the ears of a certain female student. "Kim Yu-song, you finally started making your move. A person like you really couldn't endure the loneliness of being invincible." At that moment, Kim Yu-sung shattered the backboard with a single dunk, leaving the crowd below completely stunned. Right after that, he swung a baseball bat. The baseball smashed straight into the ground and left a hole behind. Meanwhile, Rika wrote down soccer, table tennis, track and field, volleyball, baseball, judo, kendo, swimming, and tennis in her notebook. Everything was going almost too perfectly. Kim Yu-sung asked Rika how many sports clubs are left. Rika gave him the sly smile. So that's what you were curious about. Then, she pulled out a pair of glasses. Allow me to answer your question. Kim Yu-sung was a little speechless. Did she really need to make it this dramatic? Excluding table tennis, judo, and volleyball, which weren't holding tryouts today, there were 3 clubs left. The track and field club, the swimming club, and the kendo club. In short, there were still 3 sports clubs Kim Yu-sung could sign up for. Kim Yu-sung was truly grateful to Rika, but she really didn't need to go this far. Rika, besides modeling, have you started acting too? Rika froze for a moment. Why are you asking that? All of a sudden, Kim Yu-sung said, I just think you're pretty talented. Never mind. Pretend I didn't say anything. Saying it out loud felt a little embarrassing. In fact, Rika had actually done work similar to acting before. Kim Yu-sung was instantly startled. Wait, it couldn't be what he was thinking, right? What kind of work would make her this hesitant to talk about it? But she was a heroine, so there was no way she had that kind of sketchy past. Rika suddenly hooked her arm around his. Let's not talk about that. Don't we still have 3 clubs left? Seeing how flustered she looked, Kim Yu-sung decided not to press further. He chose to visit the kendo club first. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the kendo room, Kim Yu-sung arrived with an intimidating presence. After hearing the news, students rushed over to watch. I heard he destroyed every club already. Is he here to take over the kendo club now? Rika instantly switched into manager mode. If you have business with him, you can talk to me. Then the door to the kendo room slowly opened. A voice came from inside. So you finally made it this far. A third-rate thug who uses tryouts as an excuse to go around wrecking clubs. The next moment, Futaba Yukika spoke. Your violence ends here. I will stop you. Everyone began cheering for her. But Kim Yu-sung simply said, I'm only interested in the kendo club. Just tell me how to sign up for the tryout. Futaba Yukika felt that his attitude was incredibly arrogant. She said coldly, 1-point match. The first person to score a valid hit wins. I'll be your opponent. Enter the training hall. This instantly excited the crowd. A human weapon versus the kendo club captain sounded way too interesting. Some people even took out their phones and started recording. Rika laughed behind him. Looks like they've already turned you into the villain. Yukika suddenly shouted. All of you, shut up. Everyone looked stunned. This is a one-on-one duel between me and Kim Yu-sung. No one is allowed to interfere. If anyone insists on stepping in, I'll deal with that person before I deal with Kim Yu-sung. Everyone was so frightened that they fell silent. Not daring to say another word, no one expected the kendo captain's presence to be this overwhelming. Rika was right. That pressure was no joke. This woman was seriously dangerous. So Kim Yu-sung told Rika to wait at the entrance for a moment and said he would be right back. After entering the kendo room, he immediately saw plenty of weapons and protective gear. Yukika reminded him to put on the protective equipment first. But Kim Yu-sung said there was no need. He felt what he was wearing was good enough. We can start now. Don't blame me if you get hurt. Before he could finish, Yukika cut him off. I won't get hurt. You really do know how to joke. You might not even touch a single strand of my hair. Are you ready, Kim Yu-sung? The next moment, the match officially began, and Kim Yu-sung blocked her first strike with his bamboo sword. No matter how fast Yukika attacked, he blocked every strike steadily. But that was only a test. The real duel hadn't begun yet. Yukika judged that Kim Yu-sung was still just an ordinary person. Soon, Kim Yu-sung deliberately exposed an opening. Naturally, Yukika didn't miss that chance. She struck Kim Yu-sung's wrist with her bamboo sword. The bamboo sword in his hand was knocked away. That made him pause for a moment. Yukika coldly called him an idiot, saying he couldn't even see through such a simple feint. The next strike would be the final one. But what Yukika never expected was that Kim Yu-sung showed no fear at all. Instead, he suddenly smiled, and the smile was terrifying. Yukika's heart jolted. Was this a trap? The instant she instinctively stepped back, the bamboo sword that had flown away somehow returned to Kim Yuseon's hand. Yukika cursed inwardly. This guy was insane. He might even be a complete lunatic. Was he planning to lure her in first, then grab the bamboo sword again, and counterattack? If she had reacted 1 second later, she might have been the one taken down. Yukika kept analyzing him. This guy was far too dangerous. She had underestimated him earlier. If this dragged on, she would be the one in danger. So she decided to end the match with the next strike. Then Yukika took her stance, unleashing her full aura. This is my clan's secret technique, demon slaying slash. Kim Yuseon. This ends now. But Kim Yuseon didn't feel pressured at all. Yukika's strike landed squarely on his chest. Kim Yuseon instinctively let out a grunt of pain. Kim Yuseon, how does it feel? This is the Futaba clan's secret technique. Even in training, no one has ever taken this strike head-on. Yukika thought she had already won. But the next second, she froze. Because right after that, Kim Yuseon struck her directly on the chin. Yukika had never expected the situation to turn out like this. Yukika's heart jolted. Was that a hidden weapon? Why hadn't she noticed it at all? She gripped the bamboo sword tightly in her hands. Yukika stared at Kim Yuseon's body. Could this guy's defense really be that absurd? This damn muscle monster? The next morning soon arrived. News that Kim Yuseon had defeated the kendo club captain had already spread everywhere. Some people even guessed that his goal was to take control of the entire school. Kim Yuseon was completely speechless. He had only wanted to spar a little. Was this really the romantic comedy plot he knew? Fortunately, Ruji wasn't affected by the rumors, just like always. As the male lead, he probably wouldn't stray too far from the main storyline. At that moment, Riko walked over and greeted Kim Yuseon. The next second, the classroom door was suddenly pushed open. A red-haired girl stormed in. Damn it, Ruji. Get out here. Everyone wondered what was going on. Isn't that Tojo Karen from the kendo club? Ruji stepped forward. Ruji, what do you want from me? I heard you bullied the first years in our club. I visited them at the hospital yesterday and heard everything. Ruji felt that there might be some kind of misunderstanding. Mai stepped forward to explain that there might really be a misunderstanding, but Karen snapped at her. Who do you think you are? Mai got angry too. You're from the kendo club, right? The ones at fault are your first years. Yesterday, several kendo club students came after me and even tried to drag me into an alley. I told them to stop, but they refused. I was terrified and had no idea what to do. Ruji was the one who saved me. Now that you know the truth, do you still think Ruji was wrong? Since you understand now, go back and properly discipline your club members. This wasn't Ruji's fault at all. The problem was those first years from the kendo club. Tojo Karen finally understood what had happened.